these kids would give an appendage for one inning, one at bat,
just to get out
to
there.
show themselves.
Just to get out there.
Right. So it's not a. Yeah, it's not that they've changed. It's just that it sounds like.
And the thing about it, Rod, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I just want to get into this lastly. The thing about it is, with the new rule changes this year, you're allowed to have 2 quarterbacks on the field. So, but you can't just get to that instantly. You got to work up and you got to sell different plays and packages. But you can't even do those fun things if Traves doesn't even want to get out there and do his role.
Wow. Since you're here, you're so valuable for the analysis. You know that. What'd you think of Adam Big Hill laying out Shea Pedersen on the last play of the game Friday night?
Clean as could be. Clean as could be, man. Clean as could be. That is 100% on the quarterback. You watched the Calgary game last night. Jake Mayer was in the exact same scenario, and he got rid of the ball. That is not on Adam Big Hill. As a defender, we are taught, and we are going to hit the quarterback any legal chance we get. That was not a penalty. And I'm not even going to get onto the word bounty because I don't know if your fans are ready enough to hear the real truth. But look, defensive players are trying to take out the quarterback. And if the quarterback is going to do something stupid, like hold it, and when you're up 2 scores in the last possession of the game, well, he's going to pay the price. Adam Big Hill is doing exactly what he's supposed to do.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show. Now,
we are airing in Boston, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C.
How about that?
Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Arizona, Colorado, Oklahoma, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Vermont, Maine. I've been everywhere, man.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
That is the list of the 32 states that the RP show airs on Game Plus television here in the US of A. And, of course, we're on national television in Canada. Very special day because we're alive. Let's bring in the Moose. He's in Palm Desert, California. I'm excited. Moose, we didn't have you yesterday. Jersey Jim did a great job from New Jersey, which is one of the 32 states that carries the RP show, because you were golfing, and I read in your very popular award-winning column that's at rodpeterson.com right now, Moose Droppings, that drops every Wednesday. You had a tough round? Did you have a tough round in Palm Desert yesterday, Moose? Is that what I'm picking up?
Yeah, first one of the year. It didn't start off very good. It finished very strong, though. I finished very, very well. And, you know, maybe I mentioned in there, I'm getting older. I'm getting wiser. Normally, if I would have a bad start to a golf round, I would snap. I would want to leave, and it would just keep getting worse and worse and worse. Not anymore. So that's a good thing.
He's not as frustrated, everybody, when he has a bad golf round. That's what we take from that. Coming up on the program today, alum of the Calgary Flames and the Vancouver Canucks, Stanley Cup champion Tim Hunter will be with us in hour 2. He and Moose will rekindle their longtime friendship. That's the guest. Guys, can we hit the quick 6 show horn?
How about that?
I feel like the time for Mickey Mousin is over. We open with the big story, and it's the Stanley Cup playoffs, or what's going on in the NHL. We start with the leftovers from Tuesday night. Morgan Frost scored the lone goal of the shootout, and the Calgary Flames beat the visiting Vegas Golden Knights 5-4, trailing 3-1. And hearing that they had been eliminated from the playoff picture, the Flames refused to quit, scoring thrice in the third period to force overtime. We'll talk about the future of the Flames next hour with Tim Hunter and the future of the Canucks. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Wild and St. Louis Blues claimed the 2 wild card spots in the NHL's Western Conference with wins last night. They clinched. Joel Eriksson Ek, which is, I think, my favorite name in the NHL right now. Joel Eriksson Ek scored with 22 seconds left to tie the game, and Matt Boldy scored at 4:42 of overtime as the Wild edged the Ducks 3-2, and the Blues blitzed Utah 6-1 to claim the second wild card. And for all the Leafs Nation that's watching, Steven Lorentz, Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, and Nick Robertson scored, and the Leafs beat the host Buffalo Sabres 4-0 to clinch the NHL's Atlantic Division. Leafs goalie Anthony Stolarz stopped 36 shots for the Shutty. Marner recorded his 100th point of the season. Matthews registered his 400th goal. And Toronto will play the Ottawa Senators in round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So it's, as far as the Flames go, it didn't all turn out nice again, as Cactus Jack Wells would like to say. They're going to miss the playoffs. But it was a wild night. Moose, did it register where you were? Like that earthquake on Monday that registered? Did the NHL goings-on register with you last night down there in Palm Desert?
Yeah, it did, and following it, quite closely. And we know here, a couple hours down the road in L.A., they're going to play the Edmonton Oilers, and that's been set for a bit. The L.A. Kings, we had baseball on last night. The Angels were playing the Texas Rangers, and here comes the L.A. Kings putting commercials on all over the place. Rounds, games 1 and 2, get your tickets. Pretty awesome stuff, but for the Flames, fun to see them win. Great to see them fighting right to the end, but when you see Minnesota and St. Louis both win, it's a little bit heartbreaking for those fans. Tough one last night. When things go well and things also go badly because you miss the playoffs, it's never easy.
Well, we don't ask the viewers to do too much, really, other than sit back and enjoy the Rod Squad. But I'm going to ask you, please, to vote on our poll for EMJ Marketing today, if you don't mind, because I'm really interested in what the answers will be from the audience. And you can also text in. I ask you to do that multiple times daily. 902-518-3033 with your thoughts and comments. It's the Progressive Insurance text line. Switch to Progressive and you can save a bunch. But the poll question, we're only waiting on one more playoff series to be determined, and that could be determined tonight. We're going to get to that in the second point. But EMJ Marketing brings you the poll every day. And it is this. What's the most tantalizing first-round series? We've got most of them determined. And obviously, they're all going to be great. We are Game Plus anchored out of Toronto for we go and we beam into Ottawa as well on Rogers Cable and whatever cable carriers are up there, Bell. Darren, what's the most tantalizing first-round series? The three that you and I came up with were the Battle of Ontario, the Battle of Florida. You changed my mind into Dallas, Colorado being the third option because I had Vegas, Minnesota for reasons that I'm going to get into or other. So again, what's the most tantalizing first round series? Battle of Ontario, Battle of Florida, Dallas, Colorado or other. I wanted to say Vegas, Minnesota because here's the Wild in a clinching game last night with 40-year-old Marc-Andre Fleury in net. And they won it. He's already said this is going to be his last. His 21st season will be his last. He could still obviously play. Got the Wild into the playoffs. And that Vegas Marc-Andre Fleury split is quietly, as the kids say, low-key, one of the worst splits in years between Vegas and the Flower. He was the face of the franchise. He was the first player taken in the expansion draft and was kicked to the curb like yesterday's garbage, which really sucks. And now he's got a chance to bounce him in the first round. That's pretty damn tantalizing to me. But you say it's the other three. You?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that a lot. Colorado, Dallas, Tampa, Florida, probably one of those will be the best. But tantalizing, I think it's Toronto, Ottawa, and the Battle of Alberta for those reasons. I mean, the rivalry between those two teams back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I mean, for a lot of us, that's what we grew up with watching. They were really fun. Now you've got this young, fun, exciting, kind of scrappy Ottawa Senators team with a great coach and a good young core, and they're playing for, with nothing to lose. They're just happy to be there. And they're playing really great. And then here come the Leafs with all the pressure and all the expectations and the superstars and all the rest. It kind of reminds me of Toronto-Montreal back a few years ago, and Montreal had the upset. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Leafs. I think it's going to be a lot of fun in both those markets. So for me, that's obviously the one I'll pick.
We have a lot of viewers in Alberta, and I love Alberta. And they love us. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes that he says, I would like to give an early nomination to the Calgary Flames as Canadian Press Team of 2025. Clearly, that's tongue-in-cheek. Jason in Red Deer writes, and he says, good morning, everyone. Well, my Flames fizzled out last night, but hey, they did much better than I expected this season. Tim Hunter joins us in hour 2 to talk about the season for the Flames. But to those playoff series again, Yeah, it sucks for the 16 teams that aren't in, but for the 16 teams that are, it's glorious. And you very clearly made the differentiate, whatever the word is. You differentiated the difference between what's going to be the best series versus what's going to be the most tantalizing series. There is a difference. Now, I live here in South Florida, and I have my Cats and Bolts shirt on because right after this, I'm going to do a live Cats and Bolts podcast taping, and everybody's all frothing at the mouth here. Everybody wants to know how long this series is going to go. I'll be honest, I considered going to Tampa Bay last night for the game. And then Brent from Wellington, Florida, asked me if I wanted to come up and watch the game at his house. Thank God I didn't do either because it was a crap, shit game. Sorry, nothing against Tampa. You know, they played their nuts off. The place was sold out. It was all great for them. But the game was bad. And I got a real kick out of this. Well, did you see any of it on ESPN? ESPN carried it. Did you have it on TV where you were, or did you see any of it?
A little bit. Only a little bit of the game.
Okay. Well, in the first period, Emily Kaplan of ESPN, close personal friend of mine, she was interviewing Paul Maurice on the bench, 10-minute mark. And she's like, well, coach, not a real big game for you as you're resting several regulars. And Pomo was like, I wouldn't say resting. We got some guys nicked up. And I'm like, oh, come on, Paul. What would you call it then? Barkov's not playing. Reinhardt's not playing. Bob's not playing. Now, Bob had just played the night before, but you get it. Come on, just say it. The game means nothing to you. And the players played like it. 5-1, Tampa won. Brent in Wellington, Florida, is watching. He says, Lightning Panthers last 5 or 6 cup finals. Can't ignore that. The last 5 straight. I'll get into this on Cats and Bolts podcast later today. I hate when the two teams play each other. I'm like a parent that I'm like the Dickinson parents when Craig and Dave go against each other in the CFL. Who do you cheer for, man? You just hope nobody gets hurt, you know? But it is good for business. Kevin the Medium has checked in from Calgary. His Canucks. He says, good morning, RP peeps. Happy Hump Day. Is that what it is? I keep even forgetting what day that it is. All things being equal, I think Vegas, Minnesota is the most tantalizing. That's just what I'm saying. Because I'm a Flower guy. Saw what went on between the Golden Knights and him, and I kind of do wish that he would upset them. Sorry, don't tell the Vegas people that, although I don't really think they care what I think. But, you know, back to the Leafs. You said there's going to be pressure on them. It doesn't matter who they're playing. They could be playing an intra-squad game and there's pressure on the Leafs. You know that, right? You know that, Darren. You know that.
No,
there's pressure
of course.
in the blue and white game.
Always. There really is. But, you know, it's different when you're playing somebody who's like your neighbor or your big rivals, right? In Montreal, Ottawa, you know, if the Leafs are playing Edmonton or another Canadian team or something else, you know, when you lose to, I mean, even Florida, for example, I know the whole We Want Florida thing, that's largely in and out because you're not dealing with those fans in your face all the time, right? It's like why the Battle of Alberta is so great. There's so much more pressure because if you lose, those fans are in your province, living there and in your face, reminding you of it every single day. So I always think that's fun.
Scott Moosejaw writes in on the Progressive Insurance text line. He says, great shirt, Roddy. Thank you. It's from the Whole Life clothing brand here in Florida. They did us a whole line of shirts, and I appreciate them for that. Thank you, Scott. Freddie in Winnipeg writes, then he goes, my poll answer, Winnipeg, St. Louis, of course. But if Winnipeg wasn't in it, I would pick Dallas, Colorado. And again, if we can debate this and not get in a fight, a lot of the NHL guys around here, specifically Jeff Chikrin, Bill Lindsay, they've all said, oh, it's really too bad that Dallas and Colorado are playing in the first round. And I'm like, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it's bad at all. It's fantastic. That might be the most highly rated series. Will it go 7? I don't know. We talked about this yesterday. You weren't on with me, but Don Granato was on NHL radio, and he said something that I've been saying for months. He goes, it's very clear some teams that are bored waiting for the playoffs. He was specifically speaking of the Panthers, the Stars. Panthers have been bored since January. They knew they had a good enough team, and they were playing with their heads up their posteriors. In a lot of ways, the Oilers were too, which, by the way, for our vast legion of Edmonton fans, or viewers, I'm not sure they're fans, it is kind of sad what's going on. I see the comments coming in from Rich in Edmonton. They're banged up. They're beat up. Darren, what's your read on that series? You said L.A. Edmonton's getting some push where you are. You're in Palm Desert, California right now. Just like everybody thinks L.A.'s almost going to sweep it.
Well, yeah, and here I don't get that same vibe. What is this, 4 straight years they're playing? And it is not tantalizing at all. It's almost a little bit boring to, I think, the hockey world, this series, because it's another rinse and repeat of the same thing. And largely, I don't think we look back at the past Kings-Oilers playoff series and think, man, I can't wait to have that again. They kind of come and go, and we kind of largely don't remember anything about it. I think this is the best opportunity the Kings have had in the 4 years. I think this is their best team. I also think the Oilers have gotten better too. Obviously, last year was their peak, making it to the Stanley Cup final. But you win these games. You've done a great job in the season series. I don't know. The Oilers are banged up. I think there's a concern on the back end, how healthy they're going to be, and even up front. And Vander Kane, will he be able to go and come off of long-term injured reserve? I don't know. A lot of question marks around the Oilers and less around the Kings.
Do you see why Paul Maurice has been resting all of his guys? Like, what did I see the report yesterday? Matthias Ekholm's going to miss the entire series. He is maybe their best defenseman. He is a game-changing defenseman. He's out for the entire series for Edmonton, so that's why they're all kind of upset there. And you say this is the Kings' best chance. They're the best home team in the NHL this year, and I think they set a franchise record for home wins, the LA Kings. And one more before, we still got time in this segment. Brent from Wellington, Florida writes in and says, from a hockey tradition standpoint, it has to be the Battle of Ontario. Brady Tkachuk will be fun to watch. Battle of Florida's picking up some serious steam. Yeah, all you can do is have them keep playing each other every year. The Battle of Florida, this is the 4th time in 5 years it's going to happen. The thing was, that game last night was on national TV, Tampa, Florida. It was such an awful game. The Stars weren't playing. Well, they were for Tampa, and it showed on the scoreboard. But I'm like, what a horrible advertisement for a playoff preview. Nobody's going to want to tune in and watch this. It was not ESPN's fault. Really wasn't anybody's fault. It was just a bad game, and the Panthers didn't play their guys. Whatever. By the weekend, everybody will have forgotten about it. Troy in Toronto writes in. He says, the first round is going to be incredible. So many good teams will be out early. I'm excited for it. Go Leafs. Rich in Edmonton says, a healthy Draisaitl, McDavid, and Kane. Still a great lineup for sure. But I kind of feel like you need all hands on deck to beat the LA Kings. And they don't have that. But who knows? That's why they play the games. We spent the entire opening segment on 1 point. NHL leftovers. We got a heck of a lot more to get to. Moose is in Palm Desert. I'm in South Florida, and it's Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show. And we'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasting wherever you find your podcasts.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Honky Tonk legend Mark Chestnut. I'm gonna get alive. Celebrating 35 years of music. I just wanna hold you close. Joined by special guest Aaron Goodvin. I'm all boom, 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 so June 28th at Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
We're broadcasting from studio number 23, and hour one is brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, The Amateur. Rami Malek plays Charlie Heller, a brilliant but deeply introverted decoder for the CIA working out of a basement office at headquarters in Langley, whose life is turned upside down when his wife is killed in a London terrorist attack. He takes matters into his own hands. We got to show Moose's face on this one. He says he can't wait. Rami Malek plays Charlie Heller in The Amateur. And by the way, Landmark Extras members who purchase tickets for the shows between April 10th and 21st for The Amateur will receive a bonus 250 extra points. And if you don't belong to Landmark Extras, you're an idiot. Moose, you said you really want to see that show. You got me talked into wanting to watch that show.
It looks unbelievable. He's such a good actor, too. And the storyline, I mean, I've seen some of the trailers for it. This is one of the movies that I've been anticipating for a while. I don't often sit here and think, man, that's a movie I got to see. But that's one for sure.
Rami Malek's the guy that played Freddie Mercury in the Queen movie, for those that don't know. Joshua Dorchek's in. He says, what's going on, Rod? Moose. He's from here. He's from South Florida. And it's funny. He goes, I guess I'm an idiot. I could have told you that, Josh. There are other people that are telling you that. You're finally realizing it. Rich in Edmonton writes, and he says, it's that time of year when point number one takes up a whole segment. For those that just joined us, we've been talking about the Stanley Cup playoffs. What's the most tantalizing first-round matchup? And we haven't gotten into tonight's games yet. There's one playoff spot that has not been clinched yet. We'll spend time on that more next hour, but it's the Habs tonight. They need 1 point against Carolina, and they're in. The Habs. If they don't get it, then the Blue Jackets have a chance on Thursday to get in. It's pretty wild. Pretty darn wild. Tank is watching in the Energy City. He says, without Miro, the Stars might run out of gas on the back end, but hopefully the depth up front and in net can weather the Colorado storm. Go Stars. I do have them picked to go to the Stanley Cup final against Florida. Moose has Colorado, Carolina, the old Jody Messina song. Heads Colorado, tails Carolina. I know that's not the actual song, but I like to pretend that it is. Bomber Boy writes in. He says, no goalie, no D. Oilers are toast. Just worry about your Winnipeg Jets, buddy. And Moose, if you don't mind, can I just continue just a couple more notes and a quick topics? Because there are other sports going on, by the way. The Toronto Blue Jays host the Atlanta Braves in a matinee today in the rubber match of a 3-game set. Anthony Santana smacked a 3-run homer, and Alan Roden had a 2-run shot in a big fifth as the Blue Jays won 6-3 Tuesday night. NBA, 89% of our viewers in the poll yesterday said they don't care about the NBA playoffs, but I do, and it's my show. So I'm just going to say Cole Anthony came off the bench to collect 26 points and 6 assists to lead Orlando to a 120-95 win over the visiting Atlanta Hawks in the play-in game last night. So Orlando moves on to play the Boston Celtics. Jimmy Butler scored 38 points. Stephen Curry had 37, and the Golden State Warriors edged Memphis 121-116 in the second game, the doubleheader last night of the play-in. Warriors will move on to face the Houston Rockets tonight. The Miami Heat play at Chicago in a play-in game, and Sacramento takes on Dallas. So I'm just throwing that in there and I'm going to get to the NFL. I know everybody's all horny for Stanley Cup playoffs, so we'll get to that right away too. But today, there are 5 all-sports radio stations in this area. 5. Think about 5. What they were all talking about, just so you all know, was the Dolphins. And the reason is the general manager, Chris Greer, held the news conference yesterday, the annual pre-draft news conference. It wasn't just sports radio around here. Pro Football Talk this morning, Chris Sims and Florio were talking about the Dolphins. Why? The Miami Dolphins confirmed they're pursuing trade options for all-pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey. GM Chris Greer confirmed Tuesday Ramsey did not request a trade. He didn't ask for more money, Greer clarified. But after weeks of conversations, both sides agreed it would be best to potentially move on. So I'm just throwing that in there for the football fans that watch. NFL Notebook, I said that we were going to talk about. It's kind of sad. They're pretty downtrodden in this market. And for my own reasons, I'm not going to dump on the Dolphins. I'm probably going to defend the Miami Dolphins. They're not my team. The Dallas Cowboys are. But the Dolphins might end up being my team. I'm not sure. But how much are you following the Jalen Ramsey story? He's a stud, won a Super Bowl with the Rams, as you recall. But he asked out of Jacksonville. He asked out of L.A. Kind of doesn't want to be here. Are we not? Don't you want people on your team that want to be there? Or is that not a thing anymore? Is that not a thing anymore, Moose? Did I miss something?
It's becoming more and more rare, man. It really is. But I'm following this. And, you know, I know personalities like that, they're hard to contain. But, you know, he hasn't really been a problem, I don't feel like, anywhere he's gone. He's been highly productive. He's been very good. But they showed his numbers. Like, in the last 3 years, his numbers go down. And what a shock. He gets older, and the production starts to go down a little bit. It happens. But he's still a big name. And whenever these big names, teams move on from them, you know, it gets the headlines. We talk about it so much because we think about back to when he won a Super Bowl, back to when he was in Jacksonville, back to when he was in other places and having all the success. And I don't think it's going to be a big loss necessarily for the Miami Dolphins, but it is definitely noteworthy, especially for a team that's trying to go up and not go down, right? They're trying to climb. And I got issues with Ramsey and with Tyreek Hill, and it's just not a good spot to be.
It's unfortunate. So back to what we were talking about, and we bring in the audience participation. Kevin, the medium, writes in, he says, being a Canucks fan is an abusive relationship. I just can't let go. Every year it's the same thing. Maybe next year. If we can just make a few changes, it will be perfect. Go, Jets, go. You're not alone, Kevin, in the Canucks fandom and sports fandom of teams that perennially underachieve. I'm sorry. Joshua Dorr, what the heck? He's a good guy. I'm going to throw in his comments here. He says, the Battle of Ontario winner will lose to the Battle of Florida winner. He says he follows the Heat. Other than that, could care less about the NBA playoffs. That's from Josh. See, but we're on Canadian television where I said, when the Raptors are out, nobody cares about the NBA playoffs. They just don't. People come here to hear about football and hockey. That's about it. And we sprinkle in a little baseball. Sea Lightning writes in and says, did Matthew Tkachuk get hurt in that staged fight with Team Canada? He got wrestled hard to the ice and hasn't played since. We'll do the math. The Panthers have not come out outright. He hasn't played since. So, what do you think? And that's why the NHL doesn't want fighting. But I'll be honest, he could have come back by now. We don't have time to get into... those that know. Here's an interesting one I saw today, Moose, from NHL.com. I guess they've started voting. NHL.com writers cast their votes for the Coach of the Year. There's a runaway winner based on the early polling for Coach of the Year in the NHL. Who do you think it is?
Scott Arniel in Winnipeg. Ooh.
It is Washington's Spencer Carberry. But you're close. Scott Arniel second.
Yeah.
Third, Dean Evison of the Columbus Blue Jackets, which knocked me off my chair because I'm like, they're not even in the playoff. If you want to vote for somebody who almost got his team in the playoffs, vote for Ryan Huska. But I inquired what it would take to get a vote here in South Florida. For what? What are you saying?
No, you're right. Like the Dean Evison thing, I heard his name early in the year, kind of all-star break, like the Four Nations and stuff, about he could be a real dark horse for Coach of the Year. And I think it's because of all they've dealt with, right? The Johnny Gaudreau thing, dealing with all of that, and then still being able to overcome that and keeping this team really competitive to a point where they might get into the playoffs. I think that's really impressive. But Ryan Huska should be in that mix too.
Well, so it's based on the voting, which I don't think the voting's done yet. But so far, the votes that have come in, Spencer Carberry of Washington's number 1, Scott Arniel of Winnipeg's number 2, Dean Evison of Columbus number 3. You very eloquently have said why. The Gaudreau thing was not a small thing to overcome, obviously. Number 4 is Montreal's Martin St. Louis, who hadn't even coached Pee Wee. Had never coached before the Montreal Canadiens hired him. Quite a story there. Number 5 is Jim Montgomery, the St. Louis Blues. And then it's pointed out others that have received votes but aren't in the top 5. Jim Hiller in L.A., John Cooper in Tampa, Rod Brindamore in Carolina. And isn't it funny, Paul Maurice isn't even mentioned. You can't find it with a search party. Paul Maurice. So, or Craig Berube. The Leafs haven't won the division, and I saw a graphic on this. The Leafs haven't won the division in well over a decade. And Craig Berube comes in probably the hardest market in the NHL to coach in, and does in his first year, and he didn't even get a vote. But the thing is, what I've learned, the NHL media is watching this show, both here in Florida and across the league, so I'm not going to say anything about the voters at all. I looked into what it would take to become one. I mentioned this the other day. I was told you need to be a beat writer. You need to be at practice every day. You need to go at all the news conferences. I'm good. I'll stick to being a columnist and come and go as I please and can watch the games from the couch. That's where it's at. So, yeah. But, I mean, do you not think Craig Berube has done a masterful job as head coach of the Leafs this year?
He really has. In a year where, let's say, Austin Matthews had a down year. I mean, he's 30 goals, but he's less than half the production he had a year ago, 75 points. But you had William Nylander again to 40. You got, Mitch Marner up over 100 points, first time in his career. Did a lot of good things. You got the goaltending thing kind of figured out with 2 goaltenders who I think they're pretty comfortable with, playing well. To be honest, the name that I was surprised didn't get a vote was Travis Green. Like the Ottawa Senators were rolling to a point where we thought they were going to pull out of the wild card and maybe challenge for the division. So Travis Green, I think, has done a great job with the Ottawa Senators as well.
Regarding the Vancouver Canucks and the plight that they're in, and they've got all summer now for navel gazing. If anybody doesn't know what that is, think navel, looking at your own belly button. What? Jason in Red Deer says the Canucks traded the wrong player. Should have traded Pedersen instead of Miller, JT Miller. And then Besser, Miller, and Hughes would have been happier and performed better. Says you. It's not like JT Miller lit the New York Rangers on fire ever since he showed up. Last I checked, they're missing the playoffs too. We all know the problems in Vancouver run far deeper than that situation. Bomber Boy writes in and he says, anyone know how many total voters there are for these NHL awards? I don't. I want to say here there's like 8, something like 7, 8, 9 guys here. I'm sure there's 100 in Toronto and 100 in Montreal and 150 in New York. I don't really know. But it's hundreds. Let's put it that way. I'll tell you a funny story before we break. Did I ever feel stupid today? I mean, most days I feel dumb, but I felt really dumb today. I was sitting in the sauna with a guy, and I've seen him around. So I said to him, hey, I heard you talking the other day about your job. I said, what is it that you do? He goes, I'm an actuary. I said, I'm sorry, what is that? And he goes, it's okay. Half people don't even know what it is. He goes, I predict accidents and who's going to be in them by demographics and what it's going to cost insurance companies. That's what I do. I said, cool. I said, where's your office? He goes, I work from home. This is where it gets real good. He goes, and that gives me the flexibility to travel. I travel a lot, not for work, but for pleasure. I said, oh, where are you going next? He goes, Montenegro. I'm like, Jamaica. Awesome. No, that's in the Middle East. I'm like, strike two. No. I said, why did I think it was Jamaica? He goes, you're thinking of Montego Bay. Oh, yeah. Don't. I've at least driven by Montego Bay. I think that's where the airport is in Jamaica. You drive by Mick Jagger's house on the way to your resort. That just happened today. So I'll be studying the Atlas here tonight. And we'll be right back with more of whatever this is. We're live on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasting wherever you find your.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Honky Tonk legend Mark Chestnut. I'm gonna get alive. Celebrating 35 years of music. I just wanna hold you close. Joined by special guest Aaron Goodvin. I'm all boom, boom, boom. June 28th at Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors. There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
RP Show continues, broadcasting from Studio 23. Gorgeous game day. I guess there is no game day in Florida. There's got to be a game going on somewhere in the state, I would think, tonight. The poll question's been a fun one. Moose is in Palm Desert on vacation. I appreciate him. Well, he's making it a working holiday. How about that? Moose, you said you guys are going up to the LPGA event. Your better half works for Golf Canada, of course. She's big in the golf world. What's the LPGA event up there?
Yeah, well, you put me on the spot. I actually don't remember the name of it, and that's my bad. But we're going up to watch. Brooke Henderson will be there. We're looking at tee times, Nelly Corda. So we're going up in the morning and do a little networking. Going to spend the day in LA tomorrow.
It's all good. You're on holidays. You've earned it. Moose is far more of an LA guy than me. I'll say this. LA's too busy for me. It's way, way too busy for me. And you've been down to visit here in South Florida. This is way more my speed, right? Where the late show starts at 4 o'clock at the movie theater. You know what I mean? Hike up your pants.
Yeah.
Go play some horseshoes. This is my speed. EMJ Marketing brings you the poll question, and the poll question today is a good one. Sparked a lot of discussion. What's the most tantalizing first-round Stanley Cup playoff series? Running away with it is the Battle of Ontario. 62% of the vote says the Battle of Ontario Leafs and Sens in round one. 22% say Dallas, Colorado. 8% say other. And 8% say the Battle of Florida. So it's interesting because I told you this many times. I hate that I don't think like everybody else. It bothers me. But it's also a gift. But I'm like, so we're into the Battle of Florida. How are we supposed to raise up these franchises and get people to care if we're not playing each other? It's very important that we do. But it feels like nobody outside the state cares. Do you think they ever will?
Yeah, I do, but it is tough. And I got to remember, too, like, all of this takes time. It takes time to build these things up. And if you pull back, it hasn't been that long. And I know even in the grand scheme of the world, like, you know, how long the teams have been around and all the rest. It's not that long. I know even if it's 20, 30 years, give it time.
Yeah. Oh, my mind's going off a million places as you're talking. That's where you and I either are a good pair or a terrible pair, but we're both squirrels.
I know.
Brent in Wellington, Florida writes in and he says, Moose has some L.A. hair for sure. Oh, yeah, Moose is Mr. L.A. And that's good for you. You said in your column, which is featured very prominently at rodpedersen.com right now, it's the top item. It's on the front page, Moose droppings. You said the Vladdy Guerrero contract was, they were talking about it in your circles there in Southern California. What's up with that?
You know, they find out you're Canadian, they want to talk, and they love baseball down here, as you know, they do across the United States. But they want to talk about Vladdy. What do you think? And what do you think about it? They want to wait till I think about it. And you know people like that, right? What do you think? Well, I want to know what you think, because they're holding on to their opinion, right? They just want to get it out, but they want to hear what you think first. And I'm like, well, I think it's good. I do too, right? They had to sign him. They had to sign him. And universally, everybody feels they have to sign him because they really believe you have to hold on to your stars, regardless of, you know, bang for your buck and the whole Moneyball thing. And, hey, we can get the run support cheaper by getting 3 guys instead of paying all this money for one. But no, the stars. That's why people go to the ballpark. That's why they're excited about the Dodgers and all the rest. So it was resounding. Saw 2 thumbs up for the signing.
Well, but I was the guy a month ago saying, give him what he wants. And there wasn't a lot of people dissenting to that because I think everybody knew that they had to. The misnomer on the Moneyball thing was the A's never won. They never won. Right? It's great movie. And we all love Brad Pitt, but it didn't work. Have I read that right?
Yeah. I mean, it worked. It got them into the playoffs or whatever it did, and they had a great year and they were very competitive with no money, but they didn't win a World Series. You're right. They didn't. And now the team's gone.
Right. I mean, we're in it to win. Did I miss something? Rich in Edmonton writes in, he says, I live on the opposite side of the continent, and I find the Battle of Florida intriguing, but I'm a sports nut. See, that's why everybody convenes here every day from noon to 2 Eastern on Game Plus TV and streaming, because we all do have the same common interests. And that's why I don't think about, I'm not going to tune in a soccer game because Fox Sports told me to. I'm just not going to watch it. I'm going to watch what I want to watch, and I'm not going to watch what I don't want to watch. The end. That's what I don't. That's why, I'm into the Battle of Florida, but I can understand that some people aren't. I get that, but I'm going to be. And the Battle of Ontario, that's the other thing. We're all going to be watching all the games. We're going to be watching as much hockey as we can, because we always have since we were little. And on the Battle of Ontario, because I've seen the Leafs and Sens play, but not nearly as much as these teams here, which, by the way, I think it'll be a 7-game series. Battle of Florida. There's no chance Ottawa wins this thing, is there? There's no way.
Oh, there is. Oh, there definitely is. They are scrappy and they can play. But here's how it always happened. Ottawa back in the late 90s and early 2000s, they played so many times and they were so great in Ottawa. Daniel Alfredson, and I think Patrick Lalime was in net, or it was Ron Tugnut. They both had opportunities. I think Danny Heatley was in those series. They were really good. Ottawa would kick the crap out of Toronto every game. I think they played 7 times in the regular season, and Ottawa would win them all. And then all of a sudden, Toronto would beat them in the playoffs. It was always fun like that. I expect this to be no different. I expect it to be full of drama and intrigue and a lot of animosity. That's what we want in the playoffs. I think it's going to be fun. But you're right. Toronto should win, but they should have won every other year when they lose out in the first round. So you never know.
That's where the pressure comes in for the Leafs. For those that just tuned in, Moose said there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Leafs. I said there's pressure on them in the intra-squad game. Speaking of Ottawa, Colin in Ottawa writes in, and says, don't worry about not knowing where Montenegro is, Roddy. They only became an independent country in 2006. Here's the thing. I've been chastised for having no interest in leaving the continent. There's enough great places to visit. There's enough. I don't need to go to Europe or Montenegro or know where it is. It's like my mom never cared to leave Milestone, Saskatchewan. She didn't care to leave at all. Came a bit of a thing between her and my dad, but that was her little bubble. There's a lot of people like that. My bubble's bigger, but I don't care to go to Montenegro or anywhere. There's enough beautiful places in North America. I'm good. And speaking of, I talked about us watching the Stanley Cup playoffs since we were little. I don't know about your house. We're going to go about a minute over here. But me, my 2 brothers who are older, and my parents, we had a playoff draft. And Mom came in it too. The kitchen, farmhouse, kitchen table. And we had our draft. The earliest I remember doing it, I was maybe 8. And the other night when I was doing baseball, Lisa Pride, who was my fellow announcer, did I tell you that? She's like, who taught you to score baseball? Your dad?
Yeah.
I said, no, my dad doesn't care about baseball. My mom. My mom taught me how to score baseball because she was the biggest baseball fan ever. But did you guys have a family pool? That's where it started for me. I was just little.
No.
You?
We didn't. I feel like, and not in a bad way, I was largely on my own watching the playoffs in my own head, making up my own things. So what I remember about the playoffs, we never had a video game console. And finally one year I got a PlayStation. It was the coolest, and got the NHL video game. And I remember, the NHL yearbook, I would clip out all the things, the pictures, and I'd have them all over the walls in my bedroom. But I remember watching the playoffs, and then I'd go upstairs on the NHL video game and I'd recreate the playoff bracket, and I would play all the games, and pretend what's happening, and try and simulate what happened. That's how I enjoyed the playoffs. I was on my own for that.
Okay. Yeah, our whole family was into it, and I love that. Utah, Darren writes in, he says, when you live in a beautiful place, you don't need to leave. Dude, as we say in Florida, say less. That's a compliment. Like, say no more. No interest in leaving the area code till summertime when it gets too hot. Okay, Moose, go have your dart, and we'll see you in hour two.
Later.
All right. Tim Hunter coming up in hour two as well. Canucks and Flames alum, Stanley Cup champion. We'll be right back with a mini overtime after this here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Broadcasting from Studio 23, it's the RP Show. This is what we call mini overtime. And by the way, nobody does birthday parties like overtime in Calgary. For the hockey-obsessed birthday boy or girl in your house, let Randy and Michelle take care of them at Overtime Hockey Lanes, 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. Taylor in Calgary writes, and he says, it sucks the Flames didn't make it. There really isn't no more to be said than that. Tim Hunter will join us next hour to talk about it. Troy in Toronto writes, and he says, I'm crawling my way along the QEW through Oakville. It feels like LA traffic here today. Moose's new hometown, I think. Are you saying Southern Ontario's Moose's new hometown or LA? Because Southern Ontario is Moose's new hometown. Regarding game consoles, Brent in Wellington, Florida writes in and says, PlayStation was your first console? Youngin'? Mine was whatever we played Pong on. That's how old I am. Me and my brothers. The beep. The ball going off the paddle that went back and forth. And a Coleco football game. Beep, 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 beep. And then Atari, which was amazing. Sea Lightning writes in, he says, years ago, I was at a Moose Jaw Warriors Regina Pats game. A young, skinny player caught my attention and scored a goal. Turned out he was Braden Point. Yeah, there's not a lot to that kid, or there wasn't in junior for sure. Paul in Humboldt writes in, he says, the secret to happiness is finding the glimpses of heaven in the places you live. It sounds like your mom had that figured out. Yeah, she had everything she needed in Milestone, Saskatchewan. That's all she needed. Why would I leave? Her family was there. Her farm was there. Everything was there. She's good. Dad wanted to see the world. Eventually, he went out and did it on his own. He's like, you want to stay here? Great, but bye. Hey, he would always come home. Sports update. The stakes are high. A heavy gym sports update. The stakes are high for the Montreal Canadiens as they chase the last available playoff spot in the NHL East. A point for the Habs against Carolina tonight secures them the second Eastern Conference wildcard berth and a date with Washington in round one. But a regulation loss will open the door for Columbus to leapfrog Montreal when the Blue Jackets play the Islanders tomorrow. The Winnipeg Jets have signed forward Alex Iafallo to a 3-year contract extension worth around $3.7 million U.S. per season. The Toronto Blue Jays will be looking to win their 3-game series with the visiting Atlanta Braves today. The Jays, who won 6-3 Tuesday night, will send righty Chris Bassett to the mound, while the Braves counter with righty Spencer Strider. The Braves won Monday's opener 8-4. And the sports update is for Heavy Gym. Heavy Gym isn't just about lifting weights. It's about lifting your spirit, your strength, and your potential. Step into the gym that's changing lives. Find out more at heavygym.ca. And let's get some comments going, too. You're quiet there on the Progressive Insurance text line. 902-518-3033. I would think that we've covered almost all of it. A lot of Stanley Cup playoff talk, a little NFL, Blue Jays, NBA play-in games to me are exciting. And what's the most tantalizing first-round series? That's the poll question. Tim Hunter coming up in hour 2, and Moose returns after this brief pause here on Game Plus Television.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Honky Tonk legend Mark Chestnut. I'm gonna get alive. Celebrating 35 years of music. I just wanna hold you close. Joined by special guest Aaron Goodvin. I'm all boom, boom, boom. June 28th at Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Now, we are airing in Boston, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C.
How about that?
Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Arizona, Colorado, Oklahoma, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Vermont, Maine. I've been everywhere, man.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Saying again, those are the 32 states which air the RP show on Game Plus Television. But we are Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show on Game Plus TV, coast to coast like butter and toast. Moose is in Palm Desert, California, though, on a golf holiday. He's going to be going to the LPGA event. He is teased going to the Oilers and Kings playoff games. By the way, Troy in Toronto writes in, Moose, and he says that he is driving through Oakville and the traffic feels like L.A. And I said, to clarify, he goes, Moose's new hometown. I said, are you saying LA is Moose's hometown or Oakville? He goes, I meant Oakville. So they have adopted you in the GTA. That is your place. How do you feel about that?
I feel pretty good. I honestly like that. It's very close to the whole area and love being there. Love being down here. Feels good.
It's, you're just a happy guy wherever you go. By the way, guys, do you want to hit the quick six show horn? We'll re-up what we've been talking about on the program for the latecomers.
That's hot.
I do want to say that they've obviously, it's not a shock. They welcomed me here in South Florida, the entire state, actually. It's been amazing. What's a little confusing, and I feel bad for our staff, is there's now mail coming in to Regina, and to the IKS studios, the RP show offices for the Cats and Bolts podcast, the other show that I do. I know it's a little confusing, but I had to split the shows because it's far better on the RP show not talking about Florida sports unless it's NHL, like the college football and stuff that we get into. I had to split them. So welcome to the Florida people that are watching today on Game Plus Television, but we're going to stick to what we always talk about, which is the NHL, especially this time of year. We spent the whole first segment talking about what went on last night in the NHL, and we didn't really get to tonight, which we will. What's going to happen tonight? We've also talked about the Blue Jays playing a matinee, the rubber match of their midweek series against Atlanta this afternoon. Chris Bassett on the hill for the Jays. Talked about the NBA playoffs very briefly because I know nobody wants to talk about that around here. And a little NFL with the Miami Dolphins saying that they're looking for a trade partner for Jalen Ramsey. It's just not working. And General Manager Chris Greer saying yesterday that he didn't ask for a trade, Jalen Ramsey. He hasn't asked for more money. It's just not working. It's one of those things. And I'll only say this because I know there's a lot of Florida people tuned in and Dolphins fans because they've written me. This morning, Darren, as I was listening to Pro Football Talk, Chris Sims was on there, Phil Sims' kid. I really like that guy. Smokes a little too much weed for me.
How about
and he talks about it on the show regularly. He talks about it regularly on the show, so whatever. I'm not spilling the beans on anything. But he just goes, Chris Greer, the GM with the Dolphins, his hands are tied, and there's things that he can't say. There's just things that he can't say. So what he says, you can't put any stock in what he's saying. And I'm like, I don't know what those things are. And I don't want to know what those things are. You know what I mean? That's where I just don't want to know. You know, and that's the tough part when you do work for a team and you know those inside things. It's really hard. I just don't want to know. Let's just enjoy the games. Let's enjoy the games. Colt in San Diego writes, and he says, good morning, Rod and Moose. Moose is close to me. Palm Desert is close. He is in Coachella Valley area. Is that a fact, Moose? Are you close to Coachella Valley?
I am, and the music festival's been going on last weekend, and I think this weekend coming up, so it's a busy area. But yeah, I am. Happy to be in your neck of the woods, Colt.
Outstanding. Okay, so our poll question is this. What's the most tantalizing of the first-round Stanley Cup playoff series? All but one have been determined, and the options we came up with are the Battle of Ontario, the Battle of Florida, Colorado, Dallas. It's two Stanley Cup contenders there in round one, or other. And with apologies to Vegas, Minnesota, or Carolina, Jersey, or Edmonton, LA, or Winnipeg, St. Louis. Because for all those fans, all those markets, that's the most tantalizing series for them. But running away with it is the Battle of Ontario. And if we, at some point, I don't know if you will, but I will make my predictions for round one. It'll probably go in our weekend newsletter, the Rod Squad newsletter. Sign up for free today. Scan the QR code that's on the screen right now. But I don't see any way. Like, what would be your prediction? I know you're nervous that the Leafs are going to blow it, but you don't really think they're going to.
No, they
What's your
shouldn't.
prediction on that series, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, they shouldn't. I mean, I think, though, it won't be easy. I think the series goes 6 games, and the Leafs win in 6 would be my prediction if I had to give one today.
Leafs in 6. I'm saying Panthers in 7 in their first-round series against the Tampa Bay Lightning, which the reason I'm wearing the Cats and Bolts podcast shirt here today is I'm going straight from this show over to that show and the Podcast Junkie studios. I didn't feel like changing. But that's a tough one. I don't like when the Panthers and Lightning face off in the playoffs. I don't like when they meet in the regular season because the fan bases are really starting to not like each other. I get the sense that the Leafs and the Senators fan bases really don't like each other at all. Like the Leafs love themselves enough for everybody. The Senators fans really hate the Leafs. There's a lot of hate in that series. Am I right?
Yeah, and I think it's going to ramp up pretty quickly. There's been a lot of heat. It's cooled down over the last decade or even, honestly, 20 years. It's really died down, but it's ramped back up in a hurry. And I think the Battle of Ontario, it'll be heated. It'll be feisty.
Well, if Brent from Wellington, Florida is still watching, he and I were leaving Amalie Arena last year after Game 4, which the Panthers blew out the Lightning in that game over in Tampa. And he was wearing Panthers stuff. I had something on my shirt. It was Panthers. And Lightning fans literally said, good luck next series. Brent and I look at each other. That would not happen in Alberta. It wouldn't happen too many places, right? So, but that's also a Florida thing. You were down again to visit me, and people are just happy. They're just nice people around. They're happy. You know, we're shoveling sunshine. It's a fun, happy place to be. I don't know if they'll ever actually hate each other, which was a topic this morning on the radio. Joe Rose was saying, are the Lightning Panthers, is that the best rivalry in South Florida sports right now? Is like the Dolphins don't really have one. The Heat, maybe Boston, but the Celtics always clean our clock. This is the best rivalry of Florida sports, just so you know, Panthers Lightning. But again, nobody outside the state knows, and I don't think they care. Anyway, Greg in Calgary writes in, he says, I vote for Colorado versus Dallas. This series looks like a toss-up. Statistically, it is. There's an article running, by the way, at rodpedersen.com right now. It's right below Moose's column, Moose Droppings. It's the next story about who will win the Stanley Cup. And I will tell you, spoiler alert, in the article, it gives the analytics and stats as to why Dallas will win it. It's like, don't pay attention to their last 10 games because that doesn't mean anything. The analytics say Dallas will win, and they're also the betting favorites. But as Moose has pointed out, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Kirk in Toronto writes in, he says, hi, Rod. GTA traffic, I hear, is worse than L.A. Can Moose attest to that? What would you say, Moose?
Yeah, it's bad, especially at peak times and with the construction going on. I've heard it being compared as like the worst traffic in North America. Yeah, I could attest.
Do you have what we have here in South Florida? Windows? I got a buddy, Gabe. He's a dentist in Fort Lauderdale. He talks about the windows. He's like, you got a 15-minute window. If you hit it, you're good. But if you miss the window, you're 2 hours to drive 10 miles. Do you have those windows? You have those? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Like, I remember going to Hamilton for the Grey Cup. Like, if I'm good and after a game at night, like, it's 35 or 40 minutes. But going to the Grey Cup took 2 hours during Grey Cup Festival.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That reminds me of Roy Shivers. Is Ted in Red Deer watching? He always likes a good Roy Shivers story. When he was the general manager of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, he was talking about traffic. And I think I was late coming to something at Taylor Field. I'm like, I'm sorry, Shiv, there was traffic. He's like, oh, shit, traffic. I'll tell you something about traffic. You ever lived in Las Vegas? You ever lived in Los Angeles? You ever lived in Vancouver? Talk to me about traffic. And I'm like, I'm just telling you that Louvain Drive was very busy. I'm sorry. I didn't judge it well. He's doing traffic. Shit. No traffic. You really missed out, Moose, not working for that guy, let me tell you. Brother Sasko writes in. He says, hey, heel Moose and Pastor Pedersen. Do you have a pick for the Conn Smythe Trophy? I got some Greek ribs riding on my Stanley Cup and Conn Smythe predictions. Appreciate the advice. Thanks, Brother Sasko. Well, number one, don't bet on the playoff MVP before the playoffs start. You're welcome. And if you want to go from there, I mean, Rupe hints. I mean, I got Dallas to win the Stanley Cup. Jason Robertson might be a good pick. I think Florida's going to be there out of the East. So Matthew Tkachuk, Alexander Barkov. I mean, we don't really start talking about the Conn Smythe, for those that don't know, that's the MVP of the playoffs, until the end of the conference finals. A little early for that. No, it's 1:11 Eastern, though. I am pointing that out. It's 1:11 Eastern.
Beautiful.
Visualize a positive outcome to your current quagmire. What do you got to lose? I mean, again, I'm not thinking about that. For a guy that lives one day at a time, I wouldn't. So maybe you have some thoughts on. You said Colorado, Carolina, so what do you think it might be?
Yeah, I mean, I go straight to the goaltenders, but you could pick a guy like Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar. Those would be two that I would look at as being possible playoff MVPs. You want to go with Connor Hellebuck, who we think might win the Hart Trophy, or at very least the Vezina. Conn Smythe would be right up his alley. So, yeah, I mean, those are some picks for me.
Colin in Ottawa writes in, he says, completely agree, Roddy. We Sens fans hate the Leafs. And I know why that is. Paul in Humboldt writes in, he says, Senators fans hate Max Domi because of the things his dad did in previous Battle of Ontarios. No, that's not Max's fault, but I get you. I get you. Stolarz had the shutout last night. But Joseph Woll's going to start in the playoffs, I assume? Like, that's not even a question, right?
I actually don't know. Clark, what do you think? But I don't know who's going to start in the playoffs. I think it's Stolarz, to be honest.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, but I don't know. They have the option, yeah.
How do we feel about that? Ty goes to the veteran, says Clark. Yeah, but he isn't. Who's the vet? Stolar? Neither one's been the guy.
He's older than
but he's never
Woll,
been the guy.
No, he hasn't.
Okay.
But he had the opportunity and, has done really well this year. They won the division. Big body. So
Yes.
there's some options there. There's some good things. Joseph Woll was really good in the playoffs before he got hurt.
Yeah. I saw when the Leafs went into Edmonton this year, and it was the brick wall, whatever you want to say, the great wall. So, yeah, you're in good shape there. I guess if one falters, you can go to the other guy. But again, neither one's been the guy. You got to give the check mark to Ottawa in goaltending in the series, do you not?
I think so. Yeah. A proven guy who's done great things in Boston. I think Allmark is probably, has the check mark. I agree.
Trent in Norway writes in and he says, Norway here, I predict a Jets-Capitals final. This is the year the conference champions meet for the first time in a while. Jets in 6 and Hellebuck for Conn Smythe. But all matchups will be fun. By the way, I was reading a thing this morning that said the NHL and MLB, the regular season champions the champions are very rarely the regular season champions, MLB and NHL. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a paradox. The champions were not the champion, whereas the NFL and NBA, they are. Your regular season, it's very, makes things easier for the bettors. The best regular season teams are the best playoff teams. That's what I was trying to say. In the NFL and the NBA, but in the Major League Baseball and NHL, they're not. That's not good news for the Winnipeg Jets. Moose, we are somewhat out of time. Can you come back after Tim Hunter to make our picks for tonight? You want to do that, right?
Sure. Yeah, we have to make picks.
We kind of have to do that because we're tied with 2 nights to go, 182, and our breakaway bets. So get your questions and comments in, everybody. Canucks, Flames alum, and a few other teams, but specifically those. Tim Hunter joins us next. We'll talk about all the Stanley Cup playoffs with him. We'll be back in a moment here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcast.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to World Championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Shania Twain.
Let's go, girls.
Live in Moose Jaw. Shania Twain. One incredible show. Live at Temple Garden Center, July 7th. With special guest, Lindsay L. Get tickets Friday, March 21st at 10 a.m. at the Temple Garden Center's box office or sasktix.ca. For more, visit shaniatwain.com.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hour 2 is brought to you by Culligan Water. Drink clean, live green. Filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina, Sask. Visit CulliganRegina.com. Okay, well, this guy can talk about a variety of things. We're pleased to welcome in NHL veteran alumni and coaching vet as well, Tim Hunter. Hey, Coach, welcome back. It's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas, isn't it? Except for maybe in Calgary. Were you in the game? Were you at the Saddle Dome last night for the tough outing?
Yeah, and we saw the result with St. Louis and Minnesota winning, so it was really a shame. I was sitting beside Lanny, and I looked. It was 2-1 for Anaheim, and then with 20 seconds left, Lanny picks his phone up. I go, don't look, don't ruin it. And he picked his phone up, tied 2-2, and I'm like, oh, man. And then again, they scored at the end of the overtime. So, yeah, it was tough. But I'll tell you, the Flames sure played a lot better after the first 5 or 7 minutes last night. And they gave the fans a heck of a game and a heck of a season for the most part. It's been really fun to watch, fun to be a fan of, and fun to just kind of be around the guys. And, you know, as alumni, we're really proud of what they did this year, both the organization, the players, the coaches, the culture they developed. You saw bits and pieces of the players after the game, saluting the fans and even driving out of the parking lot, stopping, getting out of their cars and signing autographs for the fans. So that's how much they're loved and how much of an impact they've had on the city this year.
Well, you know, it's a great town when they're engaged and things are going good with the hockey team. But I got to ask you this, Tim. Can I say back in our day, I'll lump me in with your generation, that used to be there was momentum from one season to the next, especially if it was good. I don't know if it's that way anymore. with the way the contracts are, the way the players are. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the teams that are smart, and I think I'll lump Calgary in there, is they're building groups of players that can stick together for more than just 1 or 2 years, and that's what they're doing here, is trying to get the right age group together. They can grow together, and so they've got a very good team when they move into the new building in 27, 28, and that's when it's going to be really exciting, when they're top of the class and not fighting and struggling just to get in the playoffs. So, yeah, I know what you're saying. You're looking at teams like Boston. They're going to be a long time rebuilding again. You fall off the map. Just all of a sudden they were competitive, and then a couple of guys retire, and they haven't got slots to fill. And it's a big rebuild. So, it's these smart general managers that can keep a core group of guys together for a long time. You look at Colorado, Tampa, what Tampa's done. They've done a quick retool, getting Getzel and moving some pieces around, and they've really, they scored the most goals in the NHL this year, which is quite amazing because they do it by committee. And yeah, they have some big studs in Point and Kucherov, but fun to watch.
And that little bugger, Brandon Hagel. He is something too, man. Right? He doesn't get the credit he should.
No, and I coached against him. He was in Red Deer, and I just didn't see it, that he was that dynamic of a player. And I'll tell you, whatever he's done to work on his game and hone his craft, hats off to him, because wow, what a player, and what a underrated player he is. And I think, with playing in the Four Nations, it really kind of put him on the map as well. So he's not going to be underrated anymore.
Might have caught Matthew Tkachuk off guard that particular night too. You know what I'm saying? Our poll question is, what's the most tantalizing first round series? We got Battle of Ontario, Battle of Florida, Colorado, Dallas, or other. And when I say tantalizing, just what, the most exciting matchup going in.
Yeah, that's a good question. Everyone's worried about Toronto, and they're hoping they can get through the first round. And again, they're going to have a tough go of it. I think mine, and I don't want to throw salt on the wound, but I'm really interested to see now what Edmonton does. They've had a lot of injuries, a lot of guys in and out of the lineup here in the last little while. How healthy are they going to be playing LA for, it's the fifth time in a row or fourth time in a row. It's going to be amazing. And LA is really rolling, and they're playing well and healthy. So it's going to be that, for me, that as a fan, I'm looking at that series. I'm not as concerned with the Ontario battle. It's, I coached in Toronto and I get all that, but I'm not as concerned with that.
Gary in Winnipeg writes in, breaking news: most hockey fans outside of Ontario hate the Toronto Maple Leafs. From Gary in Winnipeg. Well, I don't hate them. I think it's kind of funny. This every year is their year. Their fans believe it is every year. But can you, if you're going into this series, we've been talking about this amongst the staff, and you don't have a clear-cut number one goalie, that would scare the hell out of me. But I guess
I heard you guys talking earlier about Woll or Stolars, and it's going to be. I'm sure they know who it's going to be. The coaches, the managers, they know their guy. They have a guy they want to give it to and let him ride it, and obviously if somebody stumbles, that'll change. But I'm sure they have a guy, and who it's going to be is we'll see. But I don't hate the Leafs. The thing that I hate about the Leafs, and it's a shame, is it's just the media coverage and how much pressure they put on the team and on the players, and it's hot and cold, and those players have a hard time existing in Toronto because of all the media and the scrutiny they put on them. And they're not like any other team. They're just trying to win, but they got so much pressure on them because it comes in a lot of different directions at them, and it's hard to exist there.
You played in a variety of places. What was a place that you could go and not be recognized? Or because of your, iconic good looks, maybe that wasn't a thing. I don't know. But was there a place that you could go, Tim, that they didn't know where you were? Because it wouldn't be Calgary. It wouldn't be Vancouver. Probably wouldn't even be Quebec City. But did you have some anonymity anywhere in your career?
Well, San Jose, for sure. It's such a vast area, and, the Bay Area, I mean, in and around the arena and the San Jose area, Los Gatos, Saratoga, where all the players live. Yeah, it's a smaller community, but, you drive 10 minutes away and you're in Morgan Hill or, up in even San Francisco. No one knows who you are unless it's a tourist from Canada that bumps into you on the street in San Francisco. So, yeah. But, yeah, Quebec, the fans are just so passionate. I had a friend come and visit, and we went to a local arena, and they had 3 boys, and they brought their skates, and we went out, and I went on the ice and skating around, and in about 2 seconds, all the parents are going, "Oh, that's Tim Hunter from the Nordiques," and all the kids. It was fun, but there was no just sneaking out and playing a little shinny. And you got recognized in a hurry, and it ended up being a lot of fun. But yeah, and I didn't think Quebec, being from, I guess playing the Canadians twice in the Stanley Cup Finals puts you on the map in Quebec, because you're all of Quebec's eyes are on you for 2 weeks each time, so you get a lot of attention that way. And the famous Dale Hunter, who played in Quebec, everyone asked me, are you related to the Hunters? And that's not true. My reply to that is, they're short and fat and have big heads. I'm tall, good looking, and have a big nose. So, big difference.
Same mentality, though. Maybe the same mentality. But, I don't know how. I know that you weren't in Calgary for a period of time. Like, were you there when Tkachuk was there, Matthew? I bring that up because when he first got to Florida, nobody really knew who he was. I was here before he got here. But now everybody does. And I think he kind of likes it. Like, he rips around Fort Lauderdale on his golf cart because you can. He's not playing right now. He's hurt. And he kind of likes it. I don't think he liked it in Calgary. There's a difference. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, he's an American, and the Canadian media is a little different. But the fans loved him here. And I was here, we moved back in 2021, hadn't been here in 30 years as a resident, been coming and going, but living here for 30 years. So came back, and all that group, Goudreau and Tkachuk and the whole group of them, was fun to watch, fun to be around. And, he was pretty good guy. And I know Keith quite well. And I coached against both Brady and Matthew in the U18s in the World Juniors. So was around those guys a lot, and the dad and the mom. So good relationship with them, the fun people. And, it's just one of those things, him going to Florida, because you can, and that's what the players, that's their power they have now. But I think it's more the scrutiny as the Canadian media that you're under when you're in Canada. It was whether it's Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Montreal, Toronto. That's the difference. And down in Florida, I don't know. They probably got a couple beat writers and one television group, and the scrums are probably fairly small as opposed to what they are in Calgary.
It's smaller even than you think. It's like one or two guys that works for the team now. But what I'm saying is the fans, and it's not an insult against Canadian hockey fans. It's not. But they're going to get him against the wall and ask him why they're not scoring on the power play, right, in Canada. Here, they just want to take a picture, or they want to, you know what I mean? It's all positive, and they're not getting up in his face. That happens.
I don't think Calgary's as bad as Vancouver or Edmonton or Toronto or Montreal. I think Calgary's being in all 4 or 5 markets, being around Calgary's for the fans. The fans are I think they're a little more sophisticated, and that I don't mean to slight. They're just a little different. They have a little more respect for the athletes than these other places. And I remember being in Toronto and being, going get a haircut and sitting in the chair, and the guy's grilling me about the goaltending and the power play and the penalty kill. And I said, was this a Spanish Inquisition here? I said, I came in for a haircut. I just like to sit quietly, have a haircut, and not be grilled about the team. And the guy that owned the shop said, how'd you enjoy your time, your haircut? I said, I didn't. I said, and I won't be back, because, that's unprofessional to do that to somebody just because you can. And I thought, so there's a difference, but I think the fans in Calgary have a lot of class.
I think I just realized why the Rough Riders have their own barber shop in their locker room in their new stadium. I just realized that you can get it done right in the football stadium. You don't got to leave. I could just say Saskatchewan is the same. Just translate to football. Jeff, the Stampeders fan, writes, and he says, I met Tim last year at a hip and knee clinic in Gulf Canada Square. Very classy man. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta says, Tim, can you please coach the power play for the Flames? It's been bad for years and maybe the difference next year. How would you respond to that?
Well, it's hard to say what the problem is. There's a lot of different things that go into making a power play work, and that's number one, the direction they have, and then number two is the guys taking the direction. So, power play is all about utilizing the 1-2-on-1 they can't cover, and being smart enough to utilize that 1-2-on-1 they can't cover, because they can only cover 4 of the 5. So, it's a great question, because I know they're trying like madmen down there, and they're smart guys, and I hope they figure it out, because, I watched them. I don't know what game it was. They had 6 power. I think it was the Anaheim game, or one. They had 6 power plays and never scored on the power play. And I think they only got a point. And difference of getting another point some nights is the power play. And I know you can't exist on the power play alone, but you should score. If you get 5 power plays, you should score 1 goal. If you get 6, you should definitely score 1 goal. So, again, I had a great power play. I coached the power play in San Jose. We were number 1 in the NHL. I coached the power play in Toronto. We scored the 11th most goals in the NHL the year I coached the power play in Toronto. I great power play in Western Hockey League for 3 or 4 years straight, top 5 in Moose Jaw. It's a real art to getting to figuring out what penalty killers are doing against you, and how to beat that 2-on-1 that you want to execute and put the puck in the net. So it's not an easy job. You need good players, but you need players that'll listen and players that'll execute for you, and not have their own agenda on it. So sometimes you have to weed through all that to get it done right.
And far be it for me to say, but they had 2 players with over 60 points. Nobody else had more than 50. You might need some people that know how to score. I don't know. That would be my answer to that. It's not the most offensively charged team in the NHL, Tim.
Well, exactly, and the players to execute, and what do they have the ability? And you've got kind of a group that's got some veterans and some young guys, and they're trying to find their way, especially when you have some young guys in important spots and they're trying to find their way. And part of that is letting them find their way. And you're going to have those troubled moments and those troubled weeks and days, and that's what it's going to be all about, growing pains. So I think for the Flames, it's a little bit of short-term pain for some long-term gain. I think that would be the answer.
They're going in the right direction, and they're going fast. All right, Coach, we got to let you go. Darren Moose DuPont's coming in next with his predictions, and I know you love Darren's predictions. So, Tim, thank you. Enjoy the hockey. Let's do it again soon.
Oh, yeah. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me, Rod. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
The great Tim Hunter, Stanley Cup champion, joining us. And the Moose comes back for NHL Breakaway Bets right after this. Live on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasting wherever you enjoy your podcast.
The point is over.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Honky Tonk legend Mark Chestnut. Celebrating 35 years of music. Joined by special guest Aaron Goodvin. June 28th at Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Okay, we are broadcasting from Studio 23 and the old RP show. It's been fun. It's been fast. We welcome Moose back in from Palm Desert, California. We have text messages that have come in from the viewers, the streaming as well. We will get to those. Moose, what you got going on for the rest of the day, if you don't mind me prying?
Yeah, today's pretty quiet, man. Today's pretty quiet. We're going to go downtown. We got a couple places we're going to go see. Apparently, weirdly enough, I don't know if it's a thing, but dates, dates, the sweet little things, date shakes and dates are a big thing here. So we're going to go check that out. We're going to hit a little farmer's market and we're going to kind of relax today.
Good for you. Colton San Diego wanted to know if you felt the 5.2 earthquake the other day. John Barker answered it for him. John, being the brother of Jim Barker, writes in and says, yeah, he felt it. They were on live when the quake happened. We should revisit that a little more. I don't think you mentioned that in your column, did you? At rodpeterson.com, Moose Droppings? I don't think you did.
Yeah, I dropped it in there.
Oh,
It
did
was
you?
interesting.
Okay.
It felt like being in Saskatchewan and a massive windstorm came because the blinds started to go here, the walls start. But then I'm like, wait a second, this is something else. The bed was shaking. I was sitting, so this it wasn't quite so bad, but the walls were shaking pretty violently, and the windows and the whole deal. It was just never been through it. It ended up being no big deal, but yeah, kind of cool.
What did the locals say about it?
Yeah, they felt it. I asked around, and it didn't happen that often. Not that often, so it's not a super common thing. But it wasn't a bad one. There was no injuries, there was no damage, none of that. So I think largely it was, hey, it happened. Everybody's cool, and we move on.
Colt in San Diego writes in. He says, "I was at work when the earthquake happened. What's really I'm just sitting here watching. I guess I'm just the witness. You were on with me, and I just felt like you got a phone call or something. Your screen went black, and it was identical to the 1989 World Series, which we did this real fast the other day, but I was on that school, what do you call it, school exchange thing, and I was in Ottawa, a thing called Encounters with Canada, and we were all together in one big room watching the World Series on a big screen. You would have been 2 years old, and the screen went black. And when they did come back, Al Michaels was, "We're having an earthquake." And that was not good. People died in that. So I know that it's Southern California. It's a regular thing. But that's, Southern Ontario, I don't feel like you get hit with a lot of weather events. But here in Florida, there are a lot. And my Saskatchewan peeps, family, friends, they're like, "Oh, why would you want to live there? Good luck down there." My aunt is always calling me because everything she sees on CNN, she thinks is affecting me. Did that plane hit you? No. Did that hurricane hit you? No, Auntie. But Sask has its weather nightmares as well. Like you just said, those windstorms, I wouldn't wish those on anybody. My God. Yeah, ripping, grain bins down the field. Anyways, Glenn in Medicine Hat writes in and he says, "Date milkshakes are a thing. Just a hint. Buy one and share it. They didn't knock our socks off."
How about that?
He's saying, don't buy two. They're not that good. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I went to Dairy Queen the other night and bought the birthday confetti cake blizzard. Overrated.
Oh.
Phil, yeah, not good. I love blizzards and I love birthday cake. Put them together, not that good. Phil writes and he says, "Two things come to mind when it comes to the Battle of Ontario. Cujo chasing and knocking down the ref, and Bob Cole calling the games."
How about that?
That was our Regina buddy. Why am I drawing a blank? Mick Magoo was the ref. Wasn't that something, right? Cujo going nuts. And with Bob Cole, there isn't anybody calling games like Bob Cole. I don't care if that offends anybody. We all know it. We were talking the other day on the show, Darren, about me meeting Sam Rosen, the play-by-play voice of the Rangers. The other night was his last ever road game. Tomorrow night is his last game ever, Rangers and Lightning. And Jim Behringer knows him. He goes, he's got great energy. And he, as a human being, he has great energy, not just on the air. Bob Cole clearly had great energy. I think that might be a big reason why you're such a Leaf fan. Bob Cole would have a hand in that, I would think.
Big time. Bob Cole and Harry Neal, it was the energy. And I just think, I still feel like, and I never want to lose, a childlike curiosity and excitement for life and just all the little things that we do. And Bob Cole felt like he had that for the game. And I know in sports, and especially in pro sports, we can get jaded and we can get a little bit like, well, this is a job and I got to do the job. And we're not, no, we're here to have fun and entertain and not take things too seriously. And he brought that energy, and it was just, it made you fall in love with it.
Serena and I are waiting for the day that the AI Bob Cole soundboard comes out. I think they could do it. Hockey Night in Canada. The only problem is hit the Gretzky. That's not going to work. But yeah, here they come. By the end, he wasn't naming the players anyways.
Yeah.
Here come the Leafs. Everything's happening. Right? You could just hit AI hit the soundboard for Bob Cole and nobody would know the difference. Because now the announcers pretty much all sound the same. For whatever reason, that's what the networks want. I don't know why, but that's what they want. It's good for the Bob Coles of the world and the Ed Whalens and the Peter Mars. There will never be another. Okay, real quick. Carolina at Montreal tonight. Breakaway bets. Who do you like?
I like Montreal.
Me too. I think the Habs will get it done. Anaheim at Winnipeg tonight. Ducks for me.
Okay, I'll take the Jets.
Detroit at New Jersey. Devils for me.
Yeah, I'm with the Devils too.
Dallas at Nashville. You go first.
I'll take Dallas.
Me too. They got to figure it out. There's your winner. John says, give me an NHL winner tonight. Dallas will, because they've been sliding. They got to get it turned around before the playoffs. Vegas at Vancouver. Probably Vegas for me.
Okay, I'll take Vancouver.
All right. And the Edmonton Oilers at San Jose. Oilers just need to get healthy. Sharks are going to want to end on a winning note. It's the Finns for me. How about you?
Oh, I'll take Edmonton to win tonight.
Okay. What's the one that you're the most confident in out of all those 6 games?
Probably Dallas as well. I know you mentioned it.
Yeah,
I think
too.
that's the one.
Me too. Yeah, there you go, John. There's your lock of the night. Okay, Moose, go enjoy Southern California.
All right. Thank you.
Good job. Overtime. Next, bring on all the comments, everybody, in the streaming chat or the Progressive Insurance text line, 902-518-3033. We'll be back in a flash here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasting wherever you find your podcast.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Shania Twain.
Let's go, girls.
Live in Moose Jaw. Shania Twain. One incredible show. Live at Temple Garden Center, July 7th. With special guest, Lindsay L. Get tickets Friday, March 21st at 10 a.m. at the Temple Garden Center's box office or sasktix.ca. For more, visit ShaniaTwain.com.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902 518 3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
It's overtime for Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Spring is for hockey, isn't it? But of course, you can play hockey year-round at Overtime Hockey Lanes. It's just so fantastic. Achieve your hockey goals at OT Hockey Lanes. And of course, they throw the best birthday parties. They now have 2 radar lanes. I saw that the other day. This summer when we were in there, they only had 1. So things are clearly going very well for Overtime Hockey Lanes. If you haven't stopped in there yet, shame on you. 28th Street, Northeast Calgary. Long-time partners of the RP Show. I can tell you why, because it works. And you're helping us out with that, so thank you. Navy Don writes in from Ottawa. He says, the Senators in Ottawa are really looking forward to knocking off the Leafs in the first round. Oh, we're going to have fun with this, aren't we? What's today, Wednesday? We're going to have a lot of fun through the Stanley Cup playoffs, previewing these series. Tomorrow, Gord Stellick will join us from Sirius XM NHL Radio tomorrow. I'm really excited about that. I listen to him every day. I'm a big Gord Stellick fan. We'll get his take on these series. Is that the biggest mismatch? I got to spend some time, maybe I will in the next hour before we do the Cats and Bolts podcast, and look at the point spread differentials. Is that the biggest point spread, the Leafs and the Sens? That's like the biggest mismatch? I don't know if it is. I'm guessing that it is. Literally all the pressure's on Toronto. But that's not new. They're used to that. But again, Ottawa can run around and say they're going to win it. Nobody expects them to. It's easy for them to say that. Talking about Dairy Queen treats. I don't know why. They don't advertise on here, so they should, given the amount of money. I put the Picton kids through university in the Queen City. But anyways, Glenn Erickson, my WHL writer at rodpeterson.com, says, blueberry shakes at Dairy Queen are the best, even when the berries get stuck in the straw. I'll take your word for it, Glenn. I'm a Blizzard guy. Sometimes a little too much. Sports update for Heavy Jim. The Toronto Blue Jays are hosting the Atlanta Braves this afternoon in the rubber match of a 3-game series. Anthony Santander smacked a 3-run homer, and Alan Rodin had a 2-run shot in a big 5th inning as the Blue Jays beat the Braves 6-3 last night. The NBA play-in tournament continues tonight. The Chicago Bulls host the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference, 9-versus-10 game, while Sacramento hosts Dallas in the Western game. The winners play again tomorrow for a playoff spot, while the losers are eliminated. The Miami Dolphins are pursuing trade options for all-pro corner Jalen Ramsey. General manager Chris Greer confirmed yesterday. Ramsey did not request a trade, and he didn't ask for more money, Greer clarified at his annual pre-draft news conference. But after weeks of conversations, both sides agreed it would be best to potentially move on. I'm going to tell you, it's a very aggrieved fan base here. At least they've won a Super Bowl. I know there are some franchises, pro sports franchises, where the teams have never won a championship. At least the Dolphins have that, but not in the lifetime of many of their fans. I hope they get it all worked out. I'm a Dolphin backer. A Dolphin is what they call him here. Heavy Gym isn't just about lifting weights. It's about lifting your spirit, your strength, and your potential. Step into the gym that's changing lives. Find out more at heavygym.ca. Anybody else jealous of Moose? I have never been to Palm Desert. I'm going to have to put that on the bucket list. Navy Dawn says the Sens have had the Leafs number this year. 3-0, I think I remember AJ Jakovic saying. Colin in Ottawa. You're a good one, Colin. He writes and he says, no surprise, Chris Sims is a huge pothead, as he was the NFL pundit who was most hyping up quarterback Zach Wilson in the NFL draft 3 years ago. Of course, my Jets took the bait and still can't find our quarterback. But if you listen to Sims, which clearly you don't, and for us talking about him being a pothead, he freely admits how much he enjoys the ganja. So we're not saying anything out of school here. Still very good on the air, Chris Sims. That's Phil Sims' kid. And he was pointing out this week that he wasn't the only one touting Zach Wilson that high. And there are pundits, including his partner Mike Florio, that's saying maybe the Jets are the problem. Maybe the Jets are the ones ruining the quarterbacks, not the quarterbacks ruining the Jets. Think about that, Colin in Ottawa, and get back to me with your thoughts. Rich in Edmonton writes, and he says, the Regina Pats may be God's team, but the peanut butter parfait is his dessert. Oh, say less. But I was in grade 2. I want to say I downed 4 of those things after the Agribition Rodeo. Went with the Kuffner family. They wanted to see how many peanut butter parfaits they could get in me. I was 7. I want to say I had at least 4. Moderation was never really a thing for me. Colt says, yep, Rod, come to Palm Springs. You would love it. I had to, this ain't bragging. This is just the truth. I had to come up with a second bucket list because I accomplished everything on my first. The last 3 were visiting Chicago, Jacksonville, and New Orleans. Did all those. Now I want to meet Tony Dungy. I want to go to Palm Desert. I want to go to the San Jose, San Francisco area. That was not on my bucket list before, but now it is. I got a few others in there. Yeah, thanks to Tim Hunter. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We tried to get to as many sports as we could today. And more than anything, just have a heck of a lot of fun. Oh, Scott in Moose Jaw writes in. He says the biggest point spread will be Capitals Habs. He says, your thoughts on the Moose Jaw Miller Express this year? We are the defending Eastern Division champions, as you know, Scott. Not these guys. The Moose Jaw Miller Express. I'm looking forward to getting on that plane and heading up to the Band City May 28th. But we got a lot of shows between now and then. Have a good one, everybody. Be good.
We don't know what we're doing.